Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Sunnyview School's podcast for students, made by our students. We've been away for a little while. I think we missed one episode because we had our Christmas holidays, and straight away we got back into the routine with the January exams. That is now over, and here we are. So my name is Albert Chavarría. I'll be your host for today, and as usual, I'm accompanied by an amazing panel of people, both audience and panelists. So I'm going to pass the microphone and the cameras up to them so they can introduce themselves, starting with Mr. AJ McKean, the best teacher in school.
Well, I try. I am Mr. McKean. I teach English and drama, and I'm just here to make sure the conversation doesn't steer too off topic.
Hi, my name is Elena Eyers.
Hi, my name is Niels.
Hello, my name is Harry.
Great. All right, guys. So what are we talking about today? I think it's a very important, slightly controversial, touchy subject, or it can be anyway. So what is it? What are we talking about? Elena? Niels.
I think it's about fitness, body positivity, mental health and well-being in general.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the gym, fitness, body positivity, sports, like exercise, all that kind of stuff.
All right, sounds good. And why did you choose this subject?
Well, for me, it's something that I'm very involved in, interested in, and I personally exercise many times per week. So I think it's very important for a healthy lifestyle. And I've been going to the gym for almost 2 years, so that's a bit about me, and I think it's really important.
Similar to Harry, I'm very interested in the field, and I'm an internet gremlin for this information on fitness and the well-being of your mind and stuff like that. So I'm happy to contribute to this podcast.
I've never stepped foot in a gym in my life, but I do a sport, I do swimming, so I guess I'm also interested in fitness as well.
I go to the gym because I have to. I know that it's necessary. I run. I think I know why it's important, but how do you guys manage to keep that within your timetables, like the A-level timetable itself, with the studying and school and other commitments is really intense. How do you maintain, that routine? Because consistency is key, right, when you're wanting to get fit. So how do you manage that balance, particularly with with school?
I believe making free time is very essential when you need to go to the gym. Mm-hmm. And as long as you need to do it corresponding and relative to your grades. So if your grades are not doing very well, then you need to focus on that rather than going to the gym. But if you're cruising and you can go to the gym, then that's okay. And as long as you figure out what training method works for you, if you focus more on intense workouts, which you can do for shorter periods of time, that saves you a lot of time compared to very voluptuous workouts that are very long. So
okay, but then with that there in mind, how do you know what's the right one for you? Because obviously I know Elena says she does swimming, you guys go to the gym. What's right? What if you had to say somebody who'd never been to the gym? Imagine Elena decides, okay, I've had enough of swimming. Where does she start?
It's hard, this, because I think when you're first starting off, you should first go with a friend that's also knowledgeable about the gym. When I first started, I was around 14, 13. I went with a friend who knew what he was doing, and that led me not injuring myself, knowing what to start, what to eat, what I should do to maximise the potential that I could have with this.
Okay, and what about if you want to start like you for swimming? How do you get into, how have you been able to maintain that routine, Elena?
I think with the amount of free periods that we have at school, I think to use that wisely and to do your work within those free periods. I also think you don't need to study all the time, because it's very important to do a sport or an instrument or something to keep your mind off school. So for example, I really enjoy going. It's 3 times a week for 2 hours, so again, it's not every single day. And I think it's the only period in my day that I can really just focus on something else that isn't school and just obviously not relax, but then my brain relaxes.
Right, and then with that, how do you, I'm sure that, you know, there's so much information out there that you're aware of. There are people on TikTok. Like, I'll give you this example. I've just bought an air fryer and I've been looking at recipes, and now my Instagram algorithm is full of air fryer recipes. But some of them are absolutely rubbish. How do you kind of distinguish what gym routines or what kind of, you know, pointers through these social media sites are good for you? How do you kind of say, no, that's not for me? Or following, you said before, Niels, that you're an internet gremlin and you like to find out, you know, this information, but then how do you distinguish whether something is good or bad for your gym routine?
Well, there's reputable sources that you have to look into, and there's also trusted media sites, but there's also a sense of having just to go to the gym and experiencing this, and then, you know, trial and error, see what works for you. Like, I've had like 3 different training routines throughout my life, and it's like I've just come up to the one I have now, and it's worked the best for me. So
I completely agree with Niels. The trial and error, like, that's what you need to do. You need to do as many things as you can to find the thing that works best for you. You have to do all the exercises. You have to know which one works best for you and your body, and which will lead to the most progress. So,
okay, so with that there, how does that, with this kind of gym routines, or the, you know, the focus that you give to fitness, how does that make you feel? Like, what effects does that have on you?
Well, it definitely like increases my confidence, and increases my mental like health, because it improves it and reduces my anxiety and all of this good stuff. And it also makes me feel less guilty if I cheat on my diet, if I've done more exercise, if that makes sense. So I'm not that guilty if I indulge in like sweets or ice cream or something like that.
So you're all complementing this with diet, yeah? So is it both hand in hand, or are you just working out and so that you can eat as much as you can?
Well, not really. Personally, I believe it's mostly diet, because if you do lots of training and you don't eat enough, then that's not going to have an effect on your body.
Right.
Like, you're just going to get smaller. It's just thermodynamics. So depending on how much you move and depending on how much you exercise is like how much you consume. So if you consume more than you exercise, you're going to gain weight. And if you consume less than you exercise, then you're going to lose weight, and that's just thermodynamics. So.
Right. And is there an age to start this or stop this? Because I know somebody like me, I really have to watch what I eat, otherwise I'm, you know, gain weight, whatever. And not just for gaining weight; it's also for health reasons.
Yeah.
What's your take on somebody your age, where you're you're not even at the pinnacle of your health and your growth? Do you have to be extra careful just in case?
Not really. I feel like as you get older, your metabolism slows down, so you need to be more careful. And at my age, like, my metabolism is quite high and my testosterone is quite high, and it's getting higher. So I believe it doesn't have, like, diet doesn't have as much of an effect on me as it would on someone that's older. But I still need to watch it because it can have effects on my health.
But you are conscious about it. You're not just saying, like, you know, I'll just not eat chocolate. I'll just eat normally, or carbs versus, you know, veggies and all that stuff. You read up on all that, or?
Yeah, sometimes I believe that a good balance of everything is good for you. Yeah. And if you just like cut away those cravings, you're just gonna get one big craving where you're just gonna binge eat. Whereas if you like incrementally add that into your diet throughout the week, then you're not gonna have such problems.
Makes sense. Niels?
Yeah, I agree with many aspects of Harry's argument. Yeah, pretty much. To contrast that, though, actually, never mind. I'll forget. I'll just move on.
No, say it. You can say it.
No,
you can say it.
I would say that I'm in a predicament right now, because in contrast to most people, they're trying to lose weight, but I'm trying to gain weight.
Right.
Because a lot of people that start the gym start off with like the idea of, I want to lose weight, but for many, especially with the genetic pool that I am in, which is like slightly skinny, like I'm trying to gain weight.
Right.
So to gain muscle, you would have to eat more calories than a caloric surplus.
Okay, then with that, because obviously I hear that and in my head I'm like, I'm so jealous, because I look at a burger and it just automatically goes to my stomach, the calories and everything. I have to be really, like Albert, I have to be really careful. But how do you manage that frustration when maybe you're not getting there? Because sometimes, you know, that frustration can lead you down the other path. How do you manage that when you're not really getting the results you want to?
It's certainly a mental tool. I think there's obviously there's a thing called body dysmorphia, and it affects both ways. So many people see, oh, I'm not losing weight, or I've got folds, and that's usually normal. Your body's supposed to have, you know, an excess of fat to a certain extent. But for when I see, you know, I'll admit in the past, like, I've seen myself in the mirror, I was like, I'm not gaining any weight, I'm not gaining muscle. It hurts mentally, but it takes time to, you know, develop, accept yourself, and improve.
And I believe the thing is with weight is that weight usually isn't that relative to how you look. You can look very good but not weigh that much. Like, you can have you can have perceived a lot of muscle, but that might be due to like low body fat instead of like your actual weight being higher. Like, someone could weigh 60 kilos or less but still look like they're 80 kilos because of their body composition.
Right. Okay. So then how can somebody kind of get over that? Because obviously, you know, at your age, and I see it now that I've been a teacher for about 8 years, I've seen that particularly at this age, body image is so important. How do you manage those doubts in the back of your mind? And particularly be interested to hear from you, Elena, from a girl's perspective too. Or when you see your friends, for example, when you see, oh, I feel this, I feel that, I'm not gaining weight, I'm gaining too much weight, I feel like this. How do you manage that?
Well, I personally think like one downside, not that it's really a downside, but to fitness is that people become more aware of their bodies, and then they will compare it to people online or to their friends, and they will just want to achieve something and they might not achieve it, and then they will start, instead of just focusing on the health of their body, focusing on how it looks. So that's why with me it's more, I try not to focus on how it looks. Like, I know I do swimming, so I know it's a healthy body, and then it will just be the way it is. But I definitely think it's hard because, like, online a lot of the time you just see people and then they will have a certain body, and then people ask, oh, what's your workout routine, even though that's not tailored to yours, and then you will want to look like them, but that obviously isn't possible, or it is if you only do like a lot of work. And that's the issue with fitness, is that some people have reached some certain standards that not everybody can reach, because obviously genetics does play a part of it, and then everyone wants to have a certain type of idealized body, and not everyone has that, and now like that has sort of become the norm, and then other people who don't have that body, even though they might work out, will not like themselves as much.
I completely agree with Elena, and I like this Stoic quote, which is comparison is the thief of joy, and you should never compare yourself to somebody else, especially with your body, and especially with the age of social media. There are so many people online that lie about their like bodies and what they do, like so many men that take steroids and produce like unrealistic body standards, and I feel like the ceiling has been raised so much and there's so much pressure on you just to have a better body, even though that's completely unrealistic. And there are controversial stories like the Liver King and many people like that.
Who's the Liver King?
The Liver King, he's like this guy who walks around promoting this diet with like meat only, and he eats like body parts like the liver or like the kidneys of different animals, and he has like a massive
animals, yeah, right. Say body parts, that's
scary. Well, and he says like don't eat vegetables and blah blah blah, and his muscles are like huge, and he promotes that to like, he dedicates that to his diet, even though, and then he got exposed for spending like $15,000 a month on steroids and supplements that aid his physique in being that good, and people think that's real, and people that don't know the dangers of that, it's very dangerous, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of like false information, and also people like editing their bodies. It is so easy now, especially, and now like how technology has advanced, that people can edit videos as well. It just seems more and more realistic. But also misinformation with like diets, because what you said about like vegetables, like some people say, oh, you shouldn't eat any fruit because there's too much sugar in it, but then it's like, what am I supposed to eat?
Right. There's also like a play of like, if you have a public image of, oh, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm very good looking because I've got a lot of muscle, your entire brand image is based on how good I look. And if you're selling a working out
or a diet
or program or anything like that, your entire monetary scheme is based on how good do you look, which incentivizes people to, you know, edit photos or take dangerous amounts of steroids. And it's just bad.
And then like say that they're not on steroids and that it's achievable to their young impressionable audiences that think that it's real but it's not. So
would you guys think that nowadays fitness, bodybuilding, having a nice body, do you think that's purely physical, or I mean, you guys, you do it. Do you do it for the physical aspect or do you do it for the health aspect? Because you seem to be separating both. Where the way I grew up, when it became an issue, it was, you had to stay fit to be healthy, and you had to eat healthily to be fit. So they both came hand in hand. So I guess you're separating them both?
Yeah, I believe that many people nowadays, they train for aesthetics, which is like how your body looks. And if you think about it, that's like, you shouldn't train for how your body looks. Well, I mean, I guess it does look nice, but at the end of the day, it's longevity and how long you live and how healthy your heart is, how healthy your muscles are, and keeping your like metabolism like quick so you can just eat food and not have to worry about gaining weight or gaining fat. And like aesthetics is a big problem because people want to lose as much fat as possible, and that isn't healthy because you need, like Neil said, you need fat on your body.
Especially
for like
women.
Yeah, especially women.
Definitely.
And if you think about it, bodybuilding and dieting down to like a dangerous body fat percentage is very dangerous, and it's just for other men to look at men in underwear on the stage, like, and rating how good their body looks, and I don't think that's healthy.
Right, and do you think it's possible to have a healthy life without exercise?
No.
Perfect.
I agree.
Good answer. Good
I
answer.
agree as
Elena?
well. I agree, but I don't think necessarily that you have to go to the gym. You can do any sort of exercise.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the gym. You can do like a sport. You can go running, walking.
Right.
But some exercise is needed.
So that takes us to the question of the whole aerobic versus anaerobic exercise, bodybuilding versus swimming. What's your take on that?
Well, firstly, I completely agree with Elena that I believe exercise is for everyone, and there's one type of exercise for everybody, like either lifting weights in the gym, running on the treadmill in the gym, swimming, football, like any sport. There's a type of exercise for everyone. You're bound to enjoy some type of moving your body, like dancing, sprinting, like anything. And the argument between aerobic and anaerobic, I believe that both types of exercise are very important. Anaerobic focuses on your like short-term exercise, like how fast you can move in a short period of time and your power output, whereas aerobic is more like long-term longevity, running, swimming, cardiovascular exercise.
Okay. Does everybody exercise here in the audience?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Do you guys ever feel intimidated by other people around you? Like, I mean, I go to the gym and I always wear particularly baggy clothes because I'm like, and then I go to the gym and there are people there that look like they live there, right? Or they look like they've just come out of an advertisement, and I'm like, oh no, this is not for me. I like to go to my corner, I do my stuff, and I have my workout plans, and I go out for runs because it's on my own and I don't have to see anyone. But when I'm in the gym, there's that intimidation, and that's never really left me. Is that something you guys now as an up and coming generation still feel?
Well, there's a word for this, it's called gym intimidation. And it's when you're intimidated in the gym, and it mainly occurs with like beginners or people who struggle with like body image. And I believe that it's a really big factor that plays into whether you go to the gym or not. And it's really good when gyms have like separated areas so you can like do your own stuff in a certain area.
Yeah, the first time I walked into the gym, I was, scared. it was quite bad, but yeah, it gets better over time, definitely. But like when you first came to school, we went to the gym with us. He just loaded 2 plates on the bar. I was like, oh my god, 16 doing 100 kilos, and but you have to remember you can't compare yourself to other people, like Harry said.
Okay, so obviously not comparing yourself. Is there anything else that you can maybe suggest to our listeners that maybe think, oh, I probably should go to the gym, I want to, but it's really intimidating, I don't really know. What would you say for someone like that?
I believe you should go with a friend, because that always motivates you and that always keeps you like accountable for going to the gym. And I also believe that if you have a chance to start like at home, or like just to build a base up, just to feel a bit more confident before you step into the gym, that's really important. And like, for example, my first gym that I went to, it wasn't like, it was mainly full of like old ladies and and young boys like me who didn't have like the physique that you wanted. But my second gym that I went to, it was full of like many bodybuilders who were evidently on steroids, and I couldn't have gone there primarily because like I was not having the body that I could have had now. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think people need to remember that everyone has a different starting point, and people distribute their times to different things. So some people that you see online that are really muscly and stuff, they might have a lot of time to go to the gym, maybe because they're influencers and that's also their job, but other people have work or they have school and they just can't put as much time into it. Because also, for example, when I was over the Christmas holidays training for the regional competitions in swimming, we were training with federated people, and it was quite intimidating. Like, they had the broadest shoulders, like they were so fast, and they had like the typical swimmer's physique. Not necessarily that I want that, but it's just more that it was really intimidating. But then I also remember is that these federated people literally like train every single day, and they train so much to be able to be where they are. And like, everyone's different, but at least if you're exercising, you're doing that for yourself, so you should think more about the benefit to yourself more than pleasing other people.
Right, so you mentioned school there, and obviously you guys have done a lot of this research and this development on your own. It's been something that, you know, obviously consistency, and you've got to have that good, you know, that strong mindset in order to go for it. But as we are at school, what do you think school, particularly during your A-level program, can do to foster, you know, positive habits towards body image and towards exercising? Because you clearly are showing that it's important, right? So does something need to be done more at school, or is this something that you have to do in your personal lives?
I feel like it's a mix of both, and one thing that the A-level like timetable lacks is a PE lesson. Even though like some people may ruin the PE lesson because they're not enthusiastic in the sport or whatever, but as long as you pick sports that everyone likes or enjoys, and it's just like you can compromise, I think that would be good. And spending time outside of school is very important, and you have like 110 hours in the week apart from sleeping, which you use for school and you can use for exercise. So I feel like people underestimate the amount of time that they have to go to the gym or exercise or run or swim in general. So it's an underestimation of the time that you have to exercise.
Right, okay. Niels, Elena, is there anything you think school could do?
Well, I think, as Harry said, it's also your own journey to see what works for you, but you should be aware that you have to exercise. But one thing, like, I have noticed, this is also a bit more for your mental health. So we'll have lessons, and they're just 50 minutes, and then the next 50 minutes. But there is a little bit of a break, but at the same time, it's like, especially if you have a lesson after one after the other in the same room, is that people don't really take a break and you just stay sitting there. But it's important to move, because especially like if you're sitting down for like an hour and a half, that's also not healthy. So I feel like some movement in between lessons would be more helpful, also to like clear your brain to start the new lesson, but also just to it's just healthier for you because you can't focus for that long.
Okay, all right. And I have a kind of a situation for you. Imagine you were to try and convince someone that they should take up exercise. They don't do exercise. What would be that? And you can only say one thing. What would the one thing to get someone to exercise? What would you say to them?
Are you happy with your current health?
Okay, Niels.
There's so many answers to this I can't really explain.
But like for one thing, if you had to be like, this is the one thing I'm going to get to persuade them.
Something like, are you happy where you are now?
Okay.
Do you want to improve?
Elena?
You can start listing all the biological aspects of if you don't exercise, that you're going to get diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and stuff like that.
I was going to say, are you happy with your body? But there are so many people that are happy with their body, and so many people with decent bodies that don't exercise. But there's like, I think I just learned this in biology as well. There's a statistic where if you are obese and aerobically fit, you're less likely to get a disease than if you're not obese and not aerobically fit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even if you're like massive and do exercise, you're like less likely to get disease than someone who's like smaller and has a better physique that doesn't do exercise.
Right.
So I believe health and body, there's a correlation, but it's definitely not causation there.
Okay. That's interesting.
So that's why you shouldn't ask, are you happy with your body? Because there's so many like people that are smaller and that don't have like excess body fat that are happy with their bodies, but they don't do exercise and they're still at risk of disease.
Yeah, because they might see the effects of it when they get older. Like now they can eat anything that they want, and they'll just stay small. And then when they get older, then they'll suddenly like get bigger quite quickly.
We have audience input.
I want to say something.
All right, Roy.
Okay, so before, as you guys know, when I was in year 10, I was very skinny, but now I exercise because, as you guys said before, that you might get intimidated by like other people, right? But for me, I was watching an anime show, and then I just saw like this show. Everyone was so jacked, and I was like, I need to become one of them. I need to look them. So I was actually, instead of being intimidated, I was motivated to.
And you wanted to then intimidate other people.
Well, I don't know.
So you can be inspired from anywhere, basically, right?
Yeah.
So people should watch anime and then get intimidated and then go to the gym.
Well,
All right. Okay.
Any source of inspiration works.
Wow.
Good stuff, Roy.
Okay. Gosh.
Right.
Wow.
But I believe drawing bodies is much easier than building bodies. So, like, the artists that design these animes, they can make the muscles as big as they want, and the people
Have you
with...
seen the proportions on the women?
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yes.
However, we can't take away from the fact that Roy got inspired because of this. So that's that's not a bad thing at all. So I had a question for you. Now we're talking about health and fitness. Let's talk about mental health. Because I'm not very clear on what your stance with that is. You were talking about mental health, how it helps your mental health, working out, staying fit. So in theory, it works, right? The healthier you are, the more fit you are, the better you look, helps your mental health. But what happens if you get obsessed with this and suddenly you're just not big enough or you're just not healthy enough? You see yourself in a way that starts to distort reality. Is that not an issue?
This is a big part of body dysmorphia, and there's anorexia, which many people know, which is like, oh, I'm not as skinny as I want to be, and you look in the mirror and you think you're fat, but realistically you're skinny. But then there's the like other side of the coin, which is like a term that's been used, it's called, like gym-timidation. It's called bigorexia. It's when you want to be as big as possible and you want to gain as much muscle as possible, even if that isn't like you want to get higher than your genetic ceiling, which you can't do without like performance enhancing drugs. And I feel like both anorexia and bigorexia have a big effect on your mental health, because it always distorts your body image, and when you look in the mirror you don't think you're big enough or you don't think you're skinny enough. And I think this is a massive effect on like being sad about your body or being anxious when you go outside and people judging your body, and that's a big thing.
Where's the line? Where do you draw the line? If you exercise, because there's people that don't exercise and can't do anything about it. But if you do exercise and you try to keep fit, where can you see, where's the threshold where you say, okay, this is enough. I look good enough, or I don't look good enough, or I could look better, or I'm not fit enough. Especially for somebody your age. Maybe somebody my age, I might have been doing this for 30, 40 years. I know exactly what my body is like. In your case, you're just getting started. Do you have any references? Is there anybody to show you, or are you just ad-libbing it?
Well, I feel like everyone has different genetic capacities, and just it's like you have to be happy with the progress you're making, but you can never settle, because as soon as you settle, you become competent and you don't exercise and you don't train as hard. And if you think, oh, I've got to this level, I don't need to train as hard, then like you need to train hard to maintain the physique that you have. Right. So you can never settle, but you still have to be happy with the progress you're making and happy with the process, because like what everyone says, it's about the journey, not the destination, you know.
Fair enough.
And as long as you're happy with the journey, there's constant destinations within it. So
okay, Niels, Elena, Mr. McKean.
Yeah, certainly a journey, fitness.
Are all you happy with your bodies and your fitness and your health? Because I mean, we're mixing it all together. We're not saying nice body equals good health. We're just saying, I'm assuming that you're all exercising and eating well to be healthy. So
it's hard, I think.
I mean, it's a personal question, but let me just ask it there.
Okay, I'll start, because I think no, I'm not happy, and I think this for me has been something, you know, even since I was a kid, right? You know, genetically, my dad used to play rugby for the RAF, so like you know, he's a built guy, and for him it works because he's taller than me, whereas I'm kind of dwarf size. So, you know, but then like I try and, you know, you can try and make fun of it, but then at the end of the day it still kind of hurts. Like, I think as I've got older, I've realised that there are certain things that I can't do because it will upset me or it will set me off, you know, mentally. Like, for example, at one point I was just fixated with weight, because weight is it's a number and it's something that's clear, because sometimes when you're looking in the mirror you're not necessarily going to see results, right? And sometimes the change that you want is going to be slow. So if you're looking at the scales for losing weight or gaining weight, that's something that you can hold on to. And I became fixated with that, and that was something that even now to this day I know that I shouldn't. And every time I have to get weighed, if I have like a medical test or anything, I know that's going to be problematic, because it's going to set that kind of those ruminative thoughts of, oh, okay, I'm this weight, I need to do this, I probably weigh too much, I need to stop eating this, I need to do that, and then that creates, you know, negative tendencies, and you know, you can get really stuck there.
Right.
So I don't think, you know, I think you've got to be really careful of how you measure yourself, and also how you talk to yourself about like your body, right? As well, like treating yourself well. The language you use is really important, and I can say this now because I've grown up, right? But when I was your age, I definitely didn't, and it was always like, oh, I hate how I look, and like, you know, the kind of comparing yourself. And it's good that you've kind of understood the idea of comparison, you know, as you said, is the thief of joy. So yeah, that would be my personal take on it. But
Elena, you agree with all this? You being is it different for girls and boys, or? I hate to bring gender into this in this day and age, but you know,
I'd say maybe it's different now because girls also go to the gym, but at least like from what I know is that like guys' objective is to get as much muscle as possible, and girls want to be as small as possible, like as skinny as possible. And so that's something I did struggle with in the past, like, and that leads to like just eating less, which can also lead to eating disorders. But yeah, like I would look at myself and then think, oh, like my stomach isn't flat enough. Or like, but it's normal obviously for there to be some fat there, but then you still think it's not good enough, or your arms need to be skinnier, or your legs need to be skinnier. Recently it's been better, but still sometimes I look at myself in the mirror, and if I wear clothes that are a little bit tighter or show like my stomach, I'll still think, oh, like, is my stomach like flat enough today for me to wear it out? And especially with swimming, because like you can't cover yourself there, you are surrounded by people who might have better bodies than you, and you see that. And I was like, well, I like food too much to like not eat, so I'm just going to eat.
Amen to that.
And I just started realizing, well, again, like try to focus more on the internal more than the external, in the sense that if you do eat a balanced diet, I'm not too focused with like calories or what I'm eating. It's more just eating everything in moderation. And staying fit is that more that you know that you're healthy, so your outer appearance doesn't matter as much.
That's good wisdom there. So last question for me. Is there you're saying, is my stomach flat enough or not? Is there a stereotype? Is there a stereotype that you're looking for? Like back in the 90s when I was your age, 80s, when I was your age, it was the supermodels, right? You had your Claudia Schiffers and your Naomi Campbells and all that. As far as women concerned, then you had your good-looking guys, right? The good-looking guys weren't necessarily muscular; they were just really good-looking. So that was the boys, the guys. That's what we're supposed to look like. Look like. The girls, it was the supermodels, and they had a very, very distinct body shape. Is there something like that these days?
I still think there is. I definitely think the influence from different people makes you want to have a specific type of body.
Oh, hello. Yes, I think that there's still pressure on women to be skinny. I actually watched a video on this yesterday, like, that you will get, I mean, this goes for men as well, don't get me wrong, but I think for women it's more obvious. You get treated differently when you're skinny versus if you're chubby or fat or overweight. People will be nicer to you, and I think that women are starting to, like, being skinny for a woman is very important. I mean, I've never been, I wouldn't say, I guess I was a little bit chubby during, like, before puberty, but I was never, like, fat. And I know that if I was, I would have been treated very differently. So as a woman, I want to maintain, well, I'd rather lose weight, of course, but what I look like now, because I know that if I gain, let's say, 5 to 10 kilos, men and society would not look at me the same. And honestly, that also goes now more than before, because like in the 80s and 90s, it was about being so skinny. Like, I mean, if you look at those girls, they look like they're gonna collapse from starvation at any moment. It's actually really scary to watch. But it's more now about having like a big butt and not so much boobs, but like legs in general. And that's even harder to achieve because, again, genetics just don't allow it for some people. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, some people are more dominant in like their legs and other people in their upper half. So it is really genetics. And I mean, people get surgery for it, which, I mean, that's a personal decision. But that I mean, women definitely feel the pressure to have those kinds of proportions for sure.
All right, so here's another hard question for you guys. I think that's pretty logical what you all just said. Do you guys treat people differently if they're overweight or not? Let's be honest here.
I would like to say no, but I believe that like subconsciously you would like it's the what's it the adaptation thing, which is like what's the survival of the fittest. That's what it's called. And it's like you always want to go for the healthiest person, the skinniest person, and just adapting survival of the fittest. And wait, actually I don't know where
natural selection.
Natural selection, yeah. And it's the halo effect. It's that if you're skinny, if you're good looking, you're gonna get all the like if you're a young like beautiful woman that goes to a bar, like you're gonna get more attention than the woman that has gained more weight. So
right. That makes sense.
It's just the halo effect.
But it's easy to ignore that and just be polite.
Yeah.
Anyway, right? Okay, so that's really what I'm getting at, because we all know the stereotypes. We all know natural selection exists. We're all attracted to the people that we're attracted to. However, how hard is it in this day and age to treat somebody decently, regardless of their physical aspect? I think Elsa back there has something to say.
I was just going to say something. It's more like a question. Do you think sometimes, like if you have good intentions and you're trying to treat everyone the same, if you notice someone who you think might be being treated differently by other people, you almost like try to treat them even better than others? And like, is that good? Is that bad? Is that
overcompensating?
Yeah.
Right? Good question.
Well, personally, like in a day-to-day life, I haven't encountered any situation why I would treat someone differently, because just in general, if you're talking to someone, like I'm just talking to you, like your body has nothing to do with anything in that conversation. Personally, I haven't like encountered that. I don't know, I've been talking to a fat person and then also someone who's skinnier, and then I don't know, I'm gonna talk differently to that fat person.
Think of like in a bar. Think if there's like a fat guy approaches you and a skinny guy approaches you. Like you're not gonna have the same kind of reaction.
In that situation, it's because I'm trying to think like of personal experiences, which hasn't really occurred. But in that situation, yeah, probably like...
Because you have a boyfriend, right? Online. we all heard about that. We all heard about that in episode 1.
Is he skinny?
Yeah, he's a gym man as well. Well, I guess like prejudice. No, I wouldn't go to the fat person. I don't know. It's also because like it's not. It's not only appeal, but it's also like if they're like overweight, maybe they're not prioritizing their health as well. So it's also maybe hand in hand with their day-to-day activities. Like if they are really overweight, maybe they don't prioritize themselves first, and that can be another aspect to like why you wouldn't want to approach them.
Yeah, wait, I'm very opinionated on this.
Just like what you said, I understand that, but I feel like also sometimes with gaining weight, first of all, sometimes it's genetics, and some people just gain weight really, really, really easily, and it's completely like they might be treating themselves in the same way to the next person who looks really, really skinny, but it's just bad luck. But then also, like, even if it is to do with how that person's treating themselves and prioritizing themselves, other people might be not prioritizing themselves in a similar way, but they're doing something else, like they naturally go to something else which doesn't manifest itself in such a physical way, right?
You mean that like some people can be skinny but aren't doing
like what if they're like, what if it's self-harm and you can't see it, or if it's that,
and they're still skinny?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know their experiences, but I feel like, not me personally, but like it has been hammered into our brain for there to be a certain body image. Like I don't think we have to work on ourselves to like sort of get rid of that image, but like we have all like grown up since like ages ago when like the beauty industry standard that a certain body ideal is the most beautiful, and that's the same with a lot of things, not only your body. And it's hard for like humans to like suddenly be like, no, like I don't know, but there is a certain standard that people will always like more because we have grown up with it and been taught that that is the most beautiful.
Fair enough. Harry, you had something to say?
I was going to say that. Wait, let me just.
You said you were very opinionated on this.
Yeah, I believe that someone, unless you're overweight because either it's genetics or you have like a predetermined disease, like for example, someone with like autism or Down syndrome, or someone with like a disability like that is unable to express themselves and exercise as well as someone that is like
able-bodied.
Yeah, able-bodied, exactly. But I believe if you're able-bodied and you have the genetics for it, I believe that there isn't like large excuses for you not to be taking care of your body and not to be taking care of your health and diet. And I believe it just comes down to either like laziness or like, as obviously as you get older, your metabolism slows down and
it gets harder.
It gets harder.
Let me tell you, it gets harder.
And I have one question for Elena at the end of this. My question is it like, is the swimming environment like very toxic? Is there swim intimidation? Just like Mr. McKean in the gym, like do you get intimidated by the bodies around at the swimming pool?
No, not really. Not also maybe because my swimming team is like not the federated, and when we were training with the federated people, it was like the majority of it were males, so that didn't intimidate me with like the female body. And also a lot of the people in my team, honestly, they're quite chubby. Like the majority of them, like 90% of them are, and they're a lot younger than me. So I think within swimming it would probably be more intimidating for men because women, like they just sort of like their body more adapts to the swimming, so maybe they get broader shoulders or they're skinnier. But with men, like they really get muscly, and you probably compare yourself with more muscly swimmers.
Yeah, with the genetics and everything.
Yeah.
Guys, let's have one. Sorry, Harry, to interrupt you. One last comment from Mar, and then we're gonna have to call it a day because school is in session and we do have classes.
Super quick. Just to add to what both of you said about, you know, like the whole natural selection or whatever, survival of the fittest, I think as humans, we gravitate towards people who we see are healthy. This goes for everything. Like even I was speaking to a friend, he said that he likes when girls have like thick hair. And I thought that was interesting and very specific, but then he brought it up how he thinks that it's a sign of health. And that's why, I mean, as women, we're attracted to more muscular guys because we feel like it's protective or whatnot. So I think that also adds to the mix, I guess.
Okay. Mr. McKean, anything to add before we leave?
I think it's important when you are looking after your body that we are like flowers. A flower can't always be in bloom, so you're not going to be always at your peak. There are going to be rough days, there are going to be tough days, but there are going to be good days if you keep at it.
Sounds great. Great last advice. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for listening, for watching.
Thank
you to our tech people behind me. Jess over here, Erica hiding somewhere over here. Erica, show your face.
There she is.
Just so happens everybody here is beautiful. It's just a bad except me. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much the audience for joining in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.